Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new limited edition Adidas 11Pro 3 No Dye. Now inside the box they do include a string bag to go along with the shoes themselves. The string bag is black in color with black strings, features your 11Pro branding on the front, as well as a graphic that matches what you're going to find on the shoes themselves. Other than that, as you guys can see, all you get inside the box are of course the shoes. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly and take a closer look at this pretty interesting release from Adidas. Now the No Dye pack, they've said that it's limited to 3,000 pairs worldwide. It of course includes the 11Pro 3 and the current 2015 F50 Adi Zero, only those two top end models, no Predator and no Nitro Charge 1.0. And the 3,000 pairs, they don't specify if it's 3,000 pairs of 11 Pros and 3,000 pairs of F50s. So based on what they've said, I would assume that it's 1,500 pairs of 11 Pros and 1,500 pairs of F50s. So they are fairly limited if it is something that you're interested in. In today's video, we're going to be going over all of the details, taking a closer look at this shoe because this is different from every other variation of the 11 Pro 3 that we've seen so far, not only in terms of the colorway, but also in terms of the materials that they've implemented on this particular shoe. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. And if you're perhaps interested in a pair of these for yourself, while they are very limited, they are still available. So if you click the very first link down below in the description of this video, it'll take you to the review page on my website. And on that page, you will find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you will be able to pick these guys up below their normal retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair for yourself, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's take a closer look at the colorway itself. Now, of course, it's called the No Dye pack, which basically explains what this colorway is all about. The materials that they've used on this shoe, from the upper, the laces, the plastic on the sole, even the stitching for the 11 Pro embroidery, none of these materials have been dyed. No added chemicals, no added coloring, no nothing. This is all the materials on one single shoe in their purest, most raw forms, which ends up being somewhat of a whiteout. Now, speaking of whiteouts, you're going to notice that this shoe doesn't look like a bright white. It's more of an off-white color. It kind of has like an eggshell tinge to it, which hopefully comes through in the video. Just to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about, here is an actual bright white pair of 11 Pro 3s, and you can see they're just significantly brighter when you have the two variations side by side. Now, as far as the upper is concerned, you're going to find that while it looks like a standard 11 Pro upper, it's actually made from hybrid touch as opposed to kangaroo leather like the standard colorway, something we will talk about more a little bit later in the video. But given that this is a synthetic material, when you get up close, you can still see the artificial leather grain on the surface of the upper, but at the same time, because they haven't dyed anything, it's semi-translucent, I guess is the best way to describe it, and that you can still see the fibers in the makeup of the synthetic. Hopefully this comes through in the video because it is noticeable in person, but it just looks very, very cool. It reminds me of a sheet of paper in a bright environment when you're just looking at it really, really closely. Definitely different from anything we've seen before, definitely different from any other whiteout. And again, we'll talk more about the hybrid touch synthetic a little bit later in the video because it obviously will have an impact on the feel and performance of this shoe. You have the 3 Adidas stripes with the embroidery. The embroidery does have kind of an off-white tinge to it, as you guys can see at the top of the stripes, as well as in the 11 Pro logo. The laces themselves are supposed to be white, but again, have that yellowish eggshell tinge to them. Same goes for the synthetic suede lining and insole that are somewhat of an off-white. And then, of course, the entire sole plate completely clear. Gets a little bit yellowish at the studs, where obviously the plastic and material itself is just a little bit more dense. But all in all, very cool looking shoe. As far as whether or not they're going to be easy to keep clean, they're essentially whiteout. So the answer to that question is no. They're going to be pretty difficult to keep clean. Grass stains will show, as well as mud on the shoes. If you keep up with cleaning them after every single use, they will stay light for a fair amount of time. Obviously, things like laces as well as the embroidery, once they stain, they're going to be a little bit more difficult to clean. But again, as long as you stay on top of things, I think something like this will be a little bit easier to keep clean than something like this, just because this is leather and this is synthetic, and synthetic just seems to be a little bit easier to clean and doesn't seem to stain quite as easily. In terms of performance, the 11 Pro 3 is a very impressive and unique shoe in that it combines a kangaroo leather upper with an internal support cage, which is something we've never really seen before, but ultimately works very well when it comes to comfort, touch, and overall performance. Now, if you guys do want more details on the standard variation of the 11 Pro 3, there's a detailed written review on my website. It'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. You can go ahead and check it out if you are at all interested. But in the case of the no-dye 11 Pro 3, like I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video, these are not made from kangaroo leather. They're made from hybrid touch synthetic. How do I know this? One, they don't feel like leather, and two, you're going to find that distinctly absent is the little leather stamping right here that you would normally find on a standard 11 Pro 3, which is right there, as you guys can see. So not the same material. These are hybrid touch, and this is not the first hybrid touch 11 Pro 3 that we've seen. The first time around with an 11 Pro 3 made from hybrid touch was the black pack edition that actually didn't have the internal support cage. It was pretty much just a straight up hybrid touch synthetic upper, which changed the feel of the shoe, but not necessarily in a negative way. If you really wanted a synthetic variation of the 11 Pro 3, I thought that the black pack colorway was very well executed. It was surprisingly comfortable and provided a pretty surprising leather-like touch on the ball as well. In the case of the no-dye pack colorway here, it's pretty much the exact same construction that you would normally find with the leather variation of the 11 Pro 3, but with, of course, a hybrid touch synthetic upper in place of the kangaroo leather. So how does the actual hybrid touch feel? It's pliable, it's flexible, it's definitely not as soft or as plush as what you're going to find with the leather. And given the choice, I still would prefer the leather variation of the shoe. But if you prefer synthetics, if you prefer something a little bit thinner, something that of course is not going to require any maintenance as far as care for the upper material itself, which is generally something that you should do with any kind of natural leather soccer shoe like a standard 11 Pro 3, then maybe this no-dye pack variation is something to consider. You still get, like I said, a pretty premium feeling synthetic upper. It doesn't feel cheap by any means. And then of course you do have that internal skeleton support frame that really does make for an interesting type of wrap on your foot. It's thin, it's comfortable, it maintains the flexibility of the shoe, but at the same time, it still feels very, very structured. It works well in combination with kangaroo leather in that you get that softness and the flexibility without losing any of that responsiveness that you would expect from a modern soccer shoe. And that's exactly the type of sensation you're going to get from this hybrid touch no-dye 11 Pro 3 as well. It does have a central lacing system, as you guys can see. It's nice and deep as well, so you can get that nice tight fit across the entire foot, which is really, really important for any shoe. It does have a pretty standard to slightly low cut in the heel area, which is not a big deal. It does give the shoe more of a kind of mobile and free sensation when they're actually on your feet, which is definitely a good thing. You have an internal plastic heel counter, just like a standard 11 Pro 3. The lining material is a very smooth, soft synthetic suede material with a decent amount of padding, so step-in comfort is not an issue whatsoever. You're going to find that same synthetic suede lining the top of the insole. A little memory foam insert here in the heel, which seems like a good idea, but in reality doesn't really provide any extra comfort, because once you step in the shoe, it compresses to the point where it's completely flat, and because your heel is not going to be moving up and down, it's not actually going to bounce back and provide any extra cushioning. So it's a nice feature, but not something that's particularly noticeable when it comes to actually wearing the shoes. And as you guys can see, the insole is just a single layer of foam. Nothing too fancy, but it does get the job done and does provide some really good step-in comfort. Moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern, this is what Adidas calls their comfort frame. It's a standard TPU plastic construction. It has a good amount of flexibility to it and also some decent thickness. So as far as comfort is concerned, you're not going to have issues with stud pressure, and because they are flexible, or it is flexible, you get a nice natural running sensation in the 11 Pro, which is really, really good. And then of course, as far as the stud pattern goes, it's kind of a modern take on a classic stud pattern. It's a pretty standard layout, 4 studs in the heel, 4 studs on the lateral side of the forefoot, 3 on the medial side, and of course 1 support stud in the middle. They're triangular in shape, but they have rounded edges, so it's kind of a combination stud where it feels somewhat like conical studs in terms of the maneuverability and just freedom to twist and pivot that you have once the shoe is planted in the ground. But at the same time, you do get a little bit more bite when pushing off in comparison to a more traditional conical stud. The studs themselves, being that this is a firm ground variation, aren't particularly aggressive, so even if you are on harder natural grass playing surfaces, this would be more than ideal and very, very comfortable for you to wear. And again, as long as you don't want something that is too aggressive as far as traction is concerned, you shouldn't have any issues with the 11 Pro 3. I know I certainly did not when it came to traction. So that's pretty much it as far as tech specs. Again, if you guys do have any other questions regarding the 11 Pro 3, or you just want more info on the standard variation of the shoe, check out that first link down below in the description. It'll take you to the full written review on my website, and you'll find all kinds of great details there. In terms of weight, I thought it'd be fun to compare the standard 11 Pro 3 that features a kangaroo leather upper to the no-dye 11 Pro 3 that features a hybrid touch synthetic upper. So that's what we're going to see right now by weighing both of these shoes in real time using the scale. Keep in mind they're both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US. We'll start off with the standard 11 Pro 3, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.9 ounces, the equivalent of 252 grams. So not heavy, not necessarily ultra lightweight either, kind of right there in the middle, and a weight range that I think feels really good with this type of a shoe. They're nice and solid on feet. So we'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the no-dye 11 Pro 3, which being that it is a thinner synthetic material, I would expect them to be a little bit lighter. And as you guys can see, they weigh in at 8.7 ounces, so 0.2 ounces lighter, the equivalent of 247 grams. A very minor variation between the two shoes. I wouldn't make it a deciding factor if you are trying to decide between a leather or synthetic variation of the 11 Pro 3. The weight difference is so minimal, you're not going to notice a difference either in hand or on feet. Again, it really depends on your preferences when it comes to feel. If you want a softer, more natural kind of cushion touch on the ball, the standard leather variation is the way to go. Whereas if you want something that's going to be a little bit thinner and perhaps a little bit more responsive, I would say the synthetic variation is the way to go. All right, so here is a look at the no-dye 11 Pro 3s on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock white laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of the new Caution Tape Premium SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, check out the website sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, being that these are hybrid touch synthetic and not kangaroo leather, they actually feel pretty similar in terms of just the general fit and shape of the shoe. That has not changed whatsoever. The only minor difference that you'll really notice is that the hybrid touch does come across as being a little bit thinner, and I wouldn't say it's quite as flexible or as plush feeling as the leather variation of the shoe. So again, if you want something that's going to be a little bit more traditional in terms of overall feel with a soft kangaroo leather upper, the standard version is the way to go. Whereas if you want something that's going to have the same type of fit, a very similar feel, but at the same time is going to be a little bit thinner overall, then this variation, the no-dye version of the 11 Pro 3, is definitely a pretty solid option. They're comfortable out of the box, no complaints there whatsoever as far as width is concerned. They have a decent amount of width to them. They will be suitable for most people. If you do have really wide feet, you're probably better off going for the leather version just because you get a little bit more stretch out of it. Whereas these will stretch, but not nearly as much as the kangaroo leather version. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of 11 Pro 3s for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that's it for my review of the no-dye 11 Pro 3. If you guys are interested in more information on this shoe in general, be sure to check out the full written review on my website. It'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. Along with the written review on that page, you'll also find buy it now links for all the available colorways of the 11 Pro 3, along with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you will be able to pick these guys up below their normal retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the no-dye 11 Pro 3, leave your questions down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media info down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.